This has been a weird summer for me and my art. I sort of feel like I've been at a standstill with my artwork. It's not like I can't draw, it's just that everything I make seems to take longer, and it always feels like something is missing with whatever piece I'm working on or whatever like sketchbook page I'm filming. Even with the video you're watching now, something just felt off about it. I'm also going to be showing you some other illustrations just to like talk through the sort of art block burnout type of thing I've been feeling for the last few months. And with this spread, I think I actually did 2 spreads in this video. I felt really heavy-handed. I felt confused and disconnected from what I was doing. And I felt this off and on with my sketchbook pages for a few months now. You probably have heard me talk about it. Some pages are fine, but some I overthink and I just like get bogged down with the details. And I just forget like what the whole point is of a sketchbook, and like something just feels off more often than not, usually when I'm filming. I especially noticed this feeling in my last month's illustration with my monthly art print for July. If you were on my Patreon during that time, you might have seen me talk about it on there, but I'm talking about my raccoon illustration from July. I posted that package very late in the month because it took me so long to do for no reason. Usually, to put it in perspective, a really detailed digital illustration takes me about 5 to 8 hours, depending on how detailed it is. But on this painting, I hit the 10-hour mark and I was still unhappy with it. Something just felt wrong. Like I colored it multiple different times and I was feeling so defeated, and it was like weighing on my mind for a week or two. And I just kept working on it, and I was just like forcing it to work, trying so hard. I was like, I don't want to start over because I know I like this concept and I like the way I drew the raccoons. Like I liked all the elements in the painting, but the way it was coming together, the way I was coloring it, something just did not feel right about it. And eventually I finished it. I figured it out. It took me like 22 hours, which is extremely unusual for me. I don't think I've spent that long on a painting, and I don't think that I don't think it shows in the painting. Like that does not seem like it should have taken 20 hours. It's not overly painterly. It's not like that detailed. There's a lot of fish. It took 20 hours because I redid it like 3 times. So it's like I made 3 paintings within one painting. And I like the final result. It's okay. I still feel like it's missing something. I still feel like something feels a bit flat. It doesn't convey that feeling that I like my art to have. It's just a certain feeling when you look at it and you're like, yeah, that feels right. Something about it does not feel right. I still really like it though. I think it's a nice print. I really like how it's a sequel to my salmon bear print. The salmon bear to me has that feeling. It just has this nice loose expressiveness, and I think my problem is I'm getting really stiff with my art and I really need to break out of it. And I think this month's illustration really helped me with that, and I'll talk about it later in detail. I'm not talking about this sketchbook page. The sketchbook page was me being like, I'm feeling stiff still. So something doesn't like feel right. And I feel like I'm following my own made up rules with my art. I'm like following this formula that I do a lot of the time, and I'm getting tired of it. And I think I'm at that point where my eyes can tell what's wrong with my art faster than my hands know how to correct it, if that makes sense. Like I think lately I've been watching a lot of Loish's tutorials on Patreon. I highly recommend you go watch her videos. You can join her highest tier and have access to like 60 different videos. And it's just really helped me get a new perspective on some things. And just, I think one of the best things to do when you're feeling really stuck and weird about your art is to try something new. And her work is very different from mine, but her work was a huge inspiration for me when I first started doing digital painting. So it was really nice to return to that and just like hear some of her helpful techniques. And I did learn a lot, and I'm still like watching her videos, and it's helping me shake out the cobwebs a little bit. I have been talking about this during my last few videos, and I've come to the conclusion my main issue, like I've said, I'm being too careful. I'm being too stiff. I'm drawing from a place of fear and relying too much on reference photos in my sketchbook instead of trying to draw new things without looking at anything, just draw from my brain. I find when I draw from my head, everything is more loose and free, and I need to do more of that, and not just studies. It's great to do studies, but I don't want to do them all the time. And I think also when I do studies, I look at the reference photo too carefully instead of interpreting it in my own way. And I kind of learned that from Loish as well. Like, it's good to exaggerate what you see and exaggerate certain elements of the reference photo and deviate away from it because you're just using it as a like starting point. And I do know this. It's just nice to hear it said by another person in different words and just to remind myself, like, your art is your art. You don't have to follow rules you made up yourself. You don't have to feel so stiff. Like, you can just be really loose with it and it doesn't have to be accurate. I think sometimes I get worried that the animals I draw are not accurate enough and people will be like, wait, that's not a platypus. Platypuses have 4 claws, not 3, but it's okay to simplify and interpret things in your own way. Now for a break to thank this video's sponsor, which is Squarespace. My Squarespace site is where I host my portfolio and my digital downloads, and it's been a really easy process to sell things on my Squarespace site. I basically set it up one day and I haven't had to change anything. I sell my Procreate brush packs on there, so if you want the brushes that I use, they're there, and I also have like a print on demand section just with like one mug that I designed. Using their e-commerce tools was very easy to do. I also use them for my portfolio, and it's really easy to add images whenever I want. I just open up the portfolio and galleries editor in my website. I upload the new images, I can rearrange them, delete the old ones, and since they have automatic image scaling, it'll display them all beside each other in a cohesive grid. You can change the gaps between the images and change the cropping and all that kind of stuff. If you want to check out Squarespace, go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/JelArts to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Now back to the video. Another thing that's helped me recently was actually this month's painting. I approached it in a much different way, and I'll show you the drawing and you can see it's a lot different from the raccoon drawing. I started off, well, I'll show you the first one I did, and then I started over and I was like, oh no, here we go again. Like, I already spent a few hours on one and I started over. But I think starting over was the best thing I could have done because I didn't take 20 hours. I took maybe 10 hours combined, maybe even less. But what happened was I started with just blocking in the illustration in sort of chunks of color because I knew what I wanted it to look like in my head. I doodled it in my sketchbook a few times, and I had thumbnail planning. I knew what I wanted it to look like. I had a really clear vision. The hardest part was drawing the water because water is very difficult to draw, and I was fighting with myself over how accurate do I want this water to be? Like, I want it to be accurate, but I want it to be stylized and I want it to look good in the piece. I don't want to sacrifice it looking appealing for the sake of accuracy because people don't look at art and think, oh, that shadow's wrong. That shadow should be this angle, and oh, the water needs to have reflections of the bushes like how normal water does. If it looks convincing, that's all that matters. It doesn't have to be so technically accurate. Like, what am I trying to prove? I'm trying to like defend myself from possible critics being like, you didn't do that properly. You didn't do this right. And that's wrong. So eventually I was like, I'm just going to draw this water until it looks like water to me. I want it to look nice. I want to incorporate some colors from the environment and just draw what I feel looks good. And I didn't do any line art. It was just a painting. I didn't render it too much. It's a pretty simple piece. It took me a while to figure out the details, but the best thing I did for myself with this piece was I broke it down over a few days like I normally do. But I would pause. I took a lot of long pauses and looked at it, and I saved my progress as I went, and I went back to previous steps and returned some of the old parts of the painting that I liked before I changed them and added them back in. And basically I just approached it from a really like analytical perspective, like I'm used to doing, and I felt like, okay, I can finally do this again. Like, I'm sort of getting my groove back just by doing this nice, loose, cute, simple platypus illustration. And I've never done like a full-on platypus drawing before. Like, I've dabbled in it, but I've never actually done an illustration, and it was really nice. And the reason why I drew a platypus was because on Patreon I asked the people what they wanted to see, because I needed to be forced to do something that I haven't really done before. So I asked for suggestions. I grabbed the ones I found most appealing and interesting, and people voted for platypuses. So I started with the sketchbook sketches, and I explored their anatomy, and I feel like on the second spread is where I really learned what they looked like more. And my huge regret with the second page is filling in the background with this like really bright blue color. I think it flattened the whole thing significantly. I really wish I didn't do that. I wish I left it more simple. I wish I didn't add all this color and detail, and like, I don't know, it felt very heavy-handed with it. But it also was helpful to learn their anatomy a little bit better. And after this page, I'll show you at the end, I did some simple little doodles. I just like drew a bunch of stuff without looking at references and without trying to be accurate. And I felt a lot better about it. I felt like, okay, I think I kind of have a grasp of their general shape and anatomy, and I can start stylizing now. The biggest mistake I made was not doing like gesture drawings before trying to draw them accurately, because I think the best way to learn to draw anatomy and to learn how to draw new things, a new animal, is to do gesture drawings to capture their overall shape and their energy. And do like 10 of these, 20 of these, do a lot. It really helps to get an overall sense of their shape before you get bogged down with all the details and trying to make it look accurate. Because if you're focusing so hard on the details, you're gonna have a hard time zooming out and seeing like, does it actually look right though? Like, I might have drawn their bill correctly, but does their body even like work around it? I've been consistently forgetting to do this in my sketchbook lately. And I've been jumping straight into like colored things and trying to fill the empty spaces in my sketchbook, and just like losing track of what I really need to be doing if I want to like level up my art and keep going. I think whenever I go through periods of art block, it's because I want to improve, like deep down. Like I think I'm ready to really like try something new and force myself to better my art a little bit, because I start to like notice mistakes more easily. So I need to like catch up with that with my own skill. Because I'm a social media artist, like I'm mainly an online artist, and I film my art, I feel this pressure to add all this color and detail to my work, but more detail and more color does not equal better all the time. Just because something's detailed doesn't mean it's better. Simple things can be just as effective. So for this spread, I really wish I left it as pencil sketches and only colored in a couple of them and added some line work or subtle shading and just moved on. Like, I think I really enjoy adding color, and I really enjoy just like the feeling of like coloring something in with watercolor and just like adding details and building it up. But sometimes I just like do this out of habit, and I need to try to do it differently. I also just think the composition is weird. It's not that I think it's bad. Like, I always feel weird about being hard on myself with my art, and it doesn't come from a place of like, oh, I suck, I'm so bad. It's not like that. It's just like noticing this discomfort I feel when looking at my art and trying to figure out why that is, so that I can improve myself for future paintings and avoid this uncomfortable feeling that I get at times. So to kind of summarize, I've been feeling weird about my art, weirdly art blocked, weirdly burnt out with certain things, not necessarily art, but I've been feeling weird about my art, and that I can't really like make things easily anymore. Like, it takes a lot of struggle. I notice mistakes like so much faster, and I've been really heavy-handed with my work and overworking things, and everything feels flat. And my cure for myself is to try to loosen up, do some more gesture drawings, stop adding so much color to things. I feel like I already talked about all this in a recent video, but it just like was really coming up during my raccoon illustration, and I feel like I'm sort of starting to get on the other side of it with all this like platypus stuff. So I wanted to show you everything I've been doing and talk through it and explain where my head has been at with my art. And I think it's important to share things like this because some people might follow an artist they admire and think that they always feel great about their art, or that they're perfect. They never have any problems, like they don't really experience art block. But that is not true. Every single artist experiences this, and I find like hearing about other people explaining how their art block affects them and remedies that they go to overcome it can really help other artists, because one of the worst feelings is art block or going through like a slump with your art, because you feel like your art is like part of your identity. And when that feels off, like I feel like your whole self can feel off along with it, because it's so like ingrained in who you are. And when art is hard to do, it's like, what do I have then? Like, art is what I'm supposed to be good at. And that's another thing that Loish was mentioning. And it is something that I think about as well. Like, when I can't do my art, when I'm having like artist rage. I think I talked about that in a recent video, like when you're just trying so hard to get something to work and you're just so unbelievably frustrated. Like I think some of my biggest frustrations in life have come from me not being able to get a drawing right, and just that intense feeling of frustration and like putting so much time into something and getting nothing out of it because you have to start over, or you just realize like this is not working. I'm fighting myself over this. It's going to be so much easier if I just start over. So that's sort of what I've been thinking about lately, and I'm going to be doing another poll and another like suggestion on my Patreon and ask people what they want me to draw for September, because this was the August package. I really like how the sticker turned out. I think it was really cute and it wasn't painful to draw. I had a really nice time drawing it. Cute little platypus sticker. He's carrying some grass in his little satchel and in his mouth. They actually carry them in their tail. I found a video of a platypus carrying a bunch of grass for its nest. In its tail, they sort of like curl it under and drag it into their nest, which is so cute, but that silhouette wasn't working for me for the sticker, so I was like, I'm just gonna draw it my own way and put it in a little satchel. I also really like the colors with the sticker. I think I can thank some of the lowish tutorials that I watched about color, because she is a color master. She is so good with color, and I was like, I'm gonna make this colorful. Just because it's a animal in life that is brown and gray looking, I can add as much color as I want to this. I don't have to be so accurate. I don't have to be so perfect and worry about what people will say about the accuracy, because no one is going to say anything and no one has said anything. It's just all my inner voices. And another part of the package is 2 prints. There's a sketchbook print, and it's a full page thumbnail that I scanned in and sketched over digitally to flesh it out. And that was so fun to do. I really enjoyed doing that. And I was like, you know what? These bushes don't have to have perfectly drawn leaves. I'm just going to do a bunch of lines and just sort of fill in the texture and treat this as a thumbnail, because that's what it is. I didn't want to use any of the sketchbook platypuses on the sketchbook print just because, or I mean the ones you're seeing in this video, I didn't want to use on the print because I just did not feel good about them. But doing a full page black and white sketch like this is really fun, honestly, and I haven't done it before. So I'm trying to do new things with my art and just like explore new horizons. I've been doing a lot of like changes lately, and it's been really good. So if you want to get that package, you can pledge to my Patreon. US folks are welcome as well. I'm still able to ship Patreon to the US, but not my shop. On my shop, you can only buy stickers if you live in the States, temporarily because of all the shipping, the weird shipping stuff that's happening and the tariffs. But if you want to grab the package, you can just get the sticker if you want. You can just get the print, or you can get everything on my Patreon. I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was really nice to talk about all of this and show you all the stuff I've been working on and what I've been thinking about when making them. If you have any tips for shaking things up in your art, let me know in the comments. I think for me, it's always like drawing something new or using a completely different technique or tool or art supply can really help. So thanks again for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.